Blessings, good evening. When we begin chanting the Paritas, first of all, the monk will call the Devas to come and listen, invite the Devas to come and listen. Then we chant in praise of the enlightened, supremely enlightened Buddha. Then we take refuge in the Buddha. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. As we do in the beginning of many ceremonies, rituals, or sometimes people just recite those words or similar words as a meditation over and over again to calm their mind and to bring up mindfulness and awareness. People who are new to Buddhism or non-Buddhists often ask, what does it mean to take refuge in the Buddha? So traditionally, it's explained as taking refuge or believing in or accepting the law of karma, which is central to the Buddha's teachings, central to the practice or the development of right view, samma ditthi. So that involves a belief in the power of, or the truth of karma, that your actions, your intentional, volitional actions bring results. Good intentions or actions rooted in good intention, wholesome intention, meaning free or almost free from greed, anger and delusion, bring good results in one way or another, depending on many different factors, depending partly on the strength of the intention. Whether it's just kind of casual, habitual action, or sometimes it's something you really try, really want to do strongly. Actions rooted in unskillful or unwholesome intention, greed, anger, delusion, as opposed to non-greed, non-anger, non-delusion. They bring unpleasant, painful results, again depending on the strength of the intention and depending on different factors. So there is such a thing as karma, there is such a thing as vibhaka karma, the results of karma. Who is it receiving these? Well, on the conventional level, the ordinary way of saying it, we say there's a person, me or you or somebody else, receives the fruits of their karma all the time. And then there's another phrase we say, Kammanu vatati loko. The beings of the world go according to their karma. So how things turn out, how things are going, what's happening for an individual will be largely the product of their own karma. We also say things like, I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abide supported by my karma. This is what faith in or taking refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha means. Accepting and believing in karma, the law of karma, the truth of karma, and then practicing accordingly, because if you really believe in it, then well, you'll try to make good karma and avoid making bad karma. Also, we say that faith in the Buddha, or taking refuge in the Buddha, also means having faith in the enlightenment of the Buddha, what they call Tathagata Bodhisattva. You really believe the Buddha was an enlightened teacher, free from suffering, free from the mental defilements that cause suffering, free from greed, anger and delusion. Self-enlightened. In the time of the Buddha in India, many people called themselves a Buddha. The term is not unique to Buddhism. So other teachers from other sects with other belief systems and practices, some with similarities to what the Buddha taught, but not exactly the same, many totally different. They would also call themselves Buddha. But we believe Gautama, the Buddha, Prince Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, was supremely self-enlightened. And the combination of this belief in karma and then in the enlightenment of the Buddha leads on to practice what the Buddha taught. Because you believe it, then you're willing to, out of confidence in the Buddha and his teachings, you're willing to put it into practice, or at least try, in your daily life. If you have no confidence in the enlightenment of the Buddha, you don't believe in karma, well, you might not take any interest. If you believe in other things strongly, such as destiny, there's nothing you can do about what happens to you, good and bad. It's all just destiny. Or if you believe it's all an act of God, or you believe it's random, we just come from nowhere, sort of randomly, we're born, whatever we do doesn't really matter, because when we die everything just ends there. These kind of beliefs, different beliefs, are obviously not going to lead you to believe in the power of your own action, karma. Won't lead you to investigate that or put it to the test. If you don't have belief in the enlightenment of the Buddha yet, well, it might mean you don't try very hard in the practice, because the practice does take effort. You have to go against your own habits and desires sometimes. The reason we can, or the reason people have in the past is because they believe or have confidence in the enlightenment of the Buddha and feel it's worth doing. It will lead to something good. Making good karma will lead to something good, lead to my happiness, my freedom. That might bring you to the question, what is the good karma? What is the best karma? We say the best karma is cultivation of the Noble Eightfold Path. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. It's the path we say beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, beautiful in the end, because it's complete and it leads to Nibbana, freedom from suffering. So when we say beautiful, we don't mean kind of looks good. We mean beautiful because it works and it purifies the mind from greed, anger and delusion. Takes human beings away from suffering to non-suffering, freedom from suffering. So it's beautiful in the Dhamma. So that's the best karma. The Noble Eightfold Path has many aspects to it, as we know. Part of the belief in karma is belief in the efficacy, the truth of sharing, giving, dana. It's worth doing. Partly because it helps cancel out, reduce our attachments, stinginess. Develops good karma that will help us keep coming back to support us until we reach Nibbana, and it might be a long time before we reach Nibbana, who knows. The practice of dana supports that. This is something you reflect on as a monk. You become a monk. Where does the food come from? Where does the accommodation, the robes, the things you use come from? Partly it's your dana bharami coming back to you. You've made offerings in the past, you've practiced charity, generosity in the past, so when you become a monk, you're willing to, you're able to receive alms. You don't go hungry. Or not very often. Practice of generosity then is something we all need. Why are we able to live, say, in a country like this, Australia? We have enough food to eat, got a place to live, we've got much more than we really need. We've got cars and phones and comfortable furniture, and we earn money and we can travel and do many things. We got plenty. You might say, well, this is all just my money that I earn from my work or my business, whatever we do. On one level that's true, but it also includes dana bharami that we've done before. Some people are in other places in the world and they work very hard, maybe harder than we do, endure great hardship, but they don't get much for it. Maybe the economy is no good, or that place is very kind of poor, or there's problems. So that it's not just a matter of working hard, it's also having the merit, the dana bharami, for things to bear fruit. So that also leads on to us thinking, well, if you're making good karma and you're practicing dana, what's a good kind of dana to make? Well, the Buddha said, in the first place, something that makes you feel good, feel happy. Dana is not something you should really do because you're forced, because that doesn't work, does it? Someone can force you to give your things up. I guess that's a kind of stealing, isn't it? If you're very advanced, maybe you could do it that way. Like Somdet Do, who we have sitting behind me, some of the stories about him, he was very advanced in his practice. They called him a bodhisattva. And one time he gave a talk in Ayutthaya. He went on a boat from what is now Bangkok, upriver, the Chao Phraya River, to Ayutthaya, and gave a Dhamma talk in a monastery. And at the end of his talk, he was given a lot of gifts, which in those days probably would be worth a lot of money. Different requisites, things he could use, pillows and kettles and things that were worth money. And he went to stay in the local monastery after the talk, and he was in a wooden kuti on stilts, raised above the ground, because that area floods. And they placed all his gifts that were offered around him where he was sleeping, just sleeping on a mat on the floor, and he had various things next to him. And the story goes that the two guys thought they would steal his gifts. They said, oh, the monk doesn't need all this stuff. We'll take it and sell it, get some free money. So they sneaked up to the kuti, and because it's on stilts, they could go underneath, work out where he was sleeping. And you hear different ways they talk about it. Sometimes they just say there was a loose floorboard or a hole, or even like in the cartoon, they took a saw and started sawing a circle through the floorboards to open up. I mean, you can't imagine, that would have been very quiet, so I'm not sure it really happened like that. But anyway, sometimes they tell the story like that. The two thieves sawed a hole through the board so they could start picking up the stuff, put their hand through this hole, pick up the stuff next to Somdet, bring it down and then steal it. And the story goes, they put their hand up and Somdet knew exactly what they were doing. He's very mindful, alert, awake. And so feeling sorry for these thieves that they would make bad karma stealing from a bodhisattva, he put the first item in the hand of the thief. This hand appeared and he just put his pillow or the kettle or whatever it was that they were stealing into the hand, and the hand took down. Oh, that was easy, I got this. Then the hand went up again and he put another item into the hand until all the items were gone. And the two guys below had their stash and they went away very happy. And someone asked him later what happened, where did all the gifts go? And he told the people what happened. And they said, why did you do that? He said, well, then they don't make any karma of stealing. I gave it away. That was for him to teach people maybe about forgiveness, letting go in that situation. But normally, being forced to do dana is not ideal, because you may be doing it under duress or you're angry or whatever. Better to do it from your own heart. Let go of some attachment, some stinginess, and you give. And it's good karma. Then the Buddha said, well, in terms of karma, if the gift you give is found purely, so you earn some money and purely in an honest way, buy something, or you share that money, or you buy something and share that, then that's good, very good karma, because it comes from a pure intention, and the item you're giving or sharing is pure. It should be an appropriate item too. Right? Some people like to give alcohol or weapons or something. That's not so good, because it goes on to become a source of unwholesome karma, killing or getting drunk. Then the one receiving this gift also influences the karma, don't they? If you give to a monk who keeps the Vinaya, that's very powerful good karma. If you give to a group of monks, Sanghadana, even more powerful. Doesn't mean to say giving to other people is not worth it or not good, but it just means that the fruits, the results may not be quite the same. If you give to someone who doesn't keep precepts, or maybe they take your money and they go and buy alcohol and get drunk, or there's somebody who you feed them and then they go off and do something not very wholesome. So you did make some good karma, but not as good as if you give to someone with precepts. So that's dana, practice with understanding, but influenced by different factors. But the Buddha said even better than dana is sila, keeping precepts, restraining your greed, anger and delusion, which takes more effort, doesn't it? Everyone likes to do dana, but fewer people will keep the precepts, even just for one day, keeping the 5 precepts. It can be hard work. Today is Saturday night, some people are probably out drinking. When we drink, often we break all the other precepts as well. Lying, arguing, stealing, whatever. Keeping precepts requires effort to restrain your greed, your anger, your delusion, your confusion. So you make more good karma when you keep precepts. And the more precepts, the better the karma. So 8 precepts, even more powerful than 5. 10 precepts, better than 8. 227, better than 10, and so on. The more renunciation, the more discipline, the more mindfulness required, the more effort required, the more refined the awareness of your intention, and the training in that means the better, the stronger the good karma made. But even better than keeping precepts, or in conjunction with keeping precepts, but even more powerful good karma is bhavana, samatha bhavana. Developing, cultivating a meditation object, mindfulness directed to the breath, or recollecting the Buddha or directed to the body, overcoming the 5 hindrances. Very good karma. Even if only for a brief time, your mind gets such a boost when you practice concentrating on an object. Samatha bhavana is mainly an act of concentrating the mind. Mindfulness directed to a single object, such as the breath, and practicing that to the point where you can one point your mind on the breath and not be distracted easily or not at all. You get immediate good karma, don't you? If you meditate and your mind becomes one-pointed, you'll probably experience some piti and sukha, joy, happiness. Your mind becomes clearer. Already that's very powerful good karma. Even if it's only for a few moments. If you practice further, maybe you attain samadhi, upajjhara samadhi, appana samadhi. If you attain jhana, then it's like, oh, such powerful good karma, it's for a whole life and many lives in the future. Doesn't mean to say it's a guarantee of anything. Jhana can disappear. But when you experience it, it changes the way you look at things. You don't forget. You don't forget, and you become much more sensitive to things, aware that the peaceful mind on the inside is more valuable than the normal kinds of happiness we experience on the outside. Happiness of relationships and wealth and fame and fortune and the different experiences people have. It's a totally different kind of happiness. So it's a very profound kind of karma that will affect you. Even more profound and more powerful kind of good karma would be insight into one or more of the 3 characteristics: impermanence, suffering, dukkha, not self. Seeing impermanence or knowing impermanence for one day better than to live 100 years without knowing it. Because that really frees your mind from a lot of delusion. Very powerful good karma. Similarly, bad karma can have its depths. We can make a moment of bad karma by just grumbling, being negative over something, or being more selfish, greedy, jealous, confused. Maybe just a bit of mental karma, maybe not very strong, not very much, very fleeting. Or we can make bad karma, through our actions and speech, and a few moments of bad karma can change your life. Just as a few moments of good karma can change your life, a few moments of bad karma can change your life, and you make a mistake and do something that you really regret and leaves you with a life of regret, remorse. It may have all kinds of consequences. If you do something like break the law or really hurt somebody else, it could change the whole course of your life in a very bad way. In the sutras, what's the worst kind of karma? Well, trying to hurt the Buddha or hurt an arahant or even kill an arahant. It's so bad that just the world can't cope with it, so that the earth opens up and swallows you up. It's that bad. So there's grades or depths of bad karma, grades and depths of good karma. And this is what determines what's happening to us. Both in the short term, today, what you've been doing today will already be determining how you feel, what you're thinking about, but also over the long term. From the past coming through, like we're sitting here, our body is a product of karma, isn't it? How you look, how you feel, being born male, female, healthier, less healthy, your genes. Nowadays we explain everything in terms of science. Oh, it's in the genes. Maybe You got to do something really foolish or terrible, you say, oh, it must be in the genes. Or it could just be you followed a negative intention, didn't restrain it, so you said that thing or did that thing. Maybe it's that. We tend to explain everything in terms of material terms, but it's also the product of karma. Your body, how you look, the sort of things that happen to you, illness, injury. How long you live is a big one, isn't it? Long life usually is attributed to moral integrity, not harming others in the past. So the resultant karma of that is get a long life. Long life can mean lots of opportunity to do more good. Even when you're 90 years old, you can still have a good thought, even if you're very weak. Still make merit, do good things. It's possible. Short life, unfortunately, usually the product of past unskillful karma, harming others, killing and so on. Karma is a very mature thing. One needs to develop equanimity to understand karma, because we don't like to hear it sometimes. We don't like to recognize karma, its results in certain situations. We don't like to admit our mistakes. Sometimes we don't like to admit our mistakes to ourselves. We hide things from ourselves, or we deny. Quite often it's to other people. We don't walk around telling the world what we're thinking, because half of what we're thinking is not very good. Probably best that way. I once asked a teacher who was reputed to read people's minds, and he said, yeah, I know what they're thinking, but I haven't got the time or the inclination to read other people's minds, because most of the time what they're thinking doesn't make much sense. It's a lot of junk, or even quite unwholesome. But he could use that skill to help people, which is what it's for. If you develop strong samadhi to the level of jhana, and you train to know the minds of others, well, you can use that to teach others. And not many people do that, but if you had that skill, that would be the purpose. But even then, to teach others, you've got to teach people who've got potential to know and understand the Dhamma and are going to practice, and it's worth the effort. So this mind, we can develop it, train it to a very high level, know many amazing things. It's all the results of good karma. Most important is to know yourself, isn't it? Know how to teach yourself, train yourself to abandon the unwholesome karma and cultivate the good. That's the heart of what the Buddha taught. That's what the Buddha encouraged us to develop, to do that skill. And he praised somebody who can abandon the unwholesome, cultivate the wholesome, purify their mind from the causes of suffering. In Buddhism, we say that's a wise person, good person. And karma is just karma. It's not that there's anyone ultimately in charge, kind of controlling it all. Even when we reflect on karma, certainly in the beginning, we tend to still go, oh, my karma, my good karma, my bad karma, and it's a convenient way of speaking, but in the end, karma is not personal, it's not a person. You might say it's like a chain, a causal chain, a process of cause and effect, cause and result. And there's no superior being, higher being controlling that. But the individual is making karma. We make karma. We make karma and then we receive the fruits. When people meditate, they're often worried about, they start noticing all their thoughts, and they notice a lot of their thoughts are not so excellent, so great, so wise. Again, this is karma, because we thought something before, we tend to think it again. In the past we've thought a lot of unskillful thoughts or meaningless kind of chatter. Our mind has a lot of meaningless chatter. Doesn't seem to have much purpose, but it's going on anyway. Doesn't help us, it just leads to more confusion. But we notice it. So when you start meditating, you notice this, and then often the first thing we do is feel bad. Oh, why have I got so much thought? Why am I thinking all this bad stuff, rubbish stuff? Why am I not peaceful, blissful? Why can't I control my mind? End all thought. But the very fact that we are trying to establish some mindfulness and reflect back and become aware of our own mind and our thoughts, that's very powerful, good karma. Because before you can change anything, you've got to see what's happening, become aware. So just establishing some mindfulness and looking or learning from your own mind is a very good thing. And often you can't just stop thinking just like that. It takes a lot of practice to do that. But you can get a skillful attitude towards your thoughts. You see thoughts arising, passing away. You can start interrupting that process by establishing some mindfulness, noticing how the thoughts in your mind that create all these stories and views on and beliefs on about ourselves, who I am, what I am, how my life is, other people as well. You can start interrupting and questioning some of that by establishing mindfulness. You say, well, that's just a thought. You say, I am a good person, I'm a bad person, I'm this, I'm that. The thought is true in the fact it might arise, but then it passes away. Every time that thought passes away, or every thought that passes away, goes to a little space, a little silence. And this is one of the benefits of practicing mindfulness, why cultivating mindfulness is such good karma. Because you actually get a chance to know yourself, to see what's going on. So to be able to hold a thought in your mind and just reflect on it. Is this skillful or not? Meaningful or useless? Is it going to help or hinder? To do that, you need to just be able to pause, as it were, and look back at your own mind and review what's going on, rather than just always react or get lost in the train of thought and believe it and sort of, oh, that's me, that's who I am. As you practice more mindfulness, you get better at interrupting the process and also stepping back, detaching, and seeing a thought as just a thought. Whether it's a good thought, bad thought, is one reflection, but also what does thought do? It arises and it passes away. It's impermanent. The more you see that, the less your thoughts cause you suffering, because you know, oh, the thought is just thought. It comes and goes. It doesn't mean to say you have to act on it or do anything. You don't even have to keep thinking that thought. Once you established awareness of it, maybe you decide, let it go. And you can do it when you're aware, when you're fully mindful, clearly comprehending, you can do that. And you'll notice when mindfulness is weak, we are under the influence of our thoughts, good or bad, and we seem kind of like trapped. the thoughts come up, not much you can do. But as you practice more mindfulness, you make that kind of good karma, mindfulness will support more mindfulness and your mind gets firmer, clearer. Then you can sort out better what's going on in your mind, what you are thinking, whether it is useful or not. And a lot of our thinking can be useful and we can train it to understand many things. You see how thoughts affect our mood, our emotions. If you think in a certain way, a wholesome way, maybe it already makes you feel better, feel good, accompanied by pleasant feeling, good mood, good emotion, positive emotion. When you hold on to and identify to more negative trains of thought, well, they'll be accompanied by a more painful, unpleasant sensations, feelings, agitation. Doesn't make us feel good. As you practice more mindfulness, you'll see that. And then you see the role of establishing mindfulness, but also focusing the mind maybe on more positive reflections that bring a sense of relaxed, calm, peace. All of this, we'd say, is good karma, learning from your own mind. And then changing some of the karma. You know, a lot of our karma is just habitual. We do it once, we think it once, and we keep doing. But if you establish mindfulness, you can change, overcome it, redirect your mind, improve your mind. And the Buddha said, it's because we can make good karma and overcome the whole karma-making process if we really put our minds to it, this is why he taught. And that's the highest karma, going beyond karma, the karma that ends karma. You know, the culmination of the Noble Eightfold Path, sila, samadhi, panya, results in samajnana dasana, right knowledge and vision, or correct knowledge and vision of the way things are. Understanding thought is not self. You are not really your thoughts, although they exist, but they're not you. Feelings, perceptions are not self. This body is not self. That brings us to that kind of insight when pursued and developed as good karma, brings us to the unconditioned, to emptiness, freedom, or clear knowledge and vision of the way things are. When we see the impermanent nature of a thought, we know there's no need to cling on to this, it's just going to disappear anyway. It's just a thought. That which is impermanent, suffering, not self, is not to be clung to. So clear knowledge and vision leads to an unbinding of the mind from what we normally attach to or cling on to. As there's an unbinding or letting go, freedom from free from suffering. So maybe I'll leave you with those reflections tonight, a few reflections on karma and faith in the Buddha.